Hold on. Okay, you're good.
Good
Hope I'm
morning,
hearing too.
ladies. Welcome back to Pajama Granny channel. And today we have a special guest, Julie, and she is from Reshape and Recover. And she's here to tell us all about her entrepreneurship and how we can join her membership. And Julie, I didn't pronounce your last name because I don't want to kill it. So you can do that yourself. So I'm going to hand over the show to Miss Julie from Reshape and Recover.
My name is Julie Kleinhans, and I am with Reshape and Recover, which is a Christ-centered 12-step membership group that helps people recover from compulsive overeating. And I have a history of compulsive overeating, and thank goodness I've been free from that for 15 years, over 15 years now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for that and for the 12 steps that help me become abstinent and stay abstinent. I was a skinny girl growing up, but definitely an overeater. It was only because my eating was controlled by my parents that kept me thin. And even then, around 10 years old, I started getting a little bit chubby. And I went on my first diet when I was 13.
Oh, wow.
And I did a lot of yo-yo dieting over the years. I would gain 25 pounds and then lose 15 and then gain 20 pounds and then lose 15, and it just kept kind of going up and up. And I had 3 pregnancies and I gained a lot. I used it as an excuse to overeat. After all, I was eating for 2, right? So, um, donut day at work was
Oh,
just
gosh.
a
Yeah.
nightmare for me.
Yeah.
I would be sitting at my desk and knowing that there's like an overabundance of donuts there. And I'm thinking, I'm just
Mm,
going to have one. I'm just going to have one. And I'd
mm.
go and I'd get the one and then bring it back to my desk and take a bite and then eat it fast. And then I'm thinking, I'm just going to have that one. But those donuts were calling to me. And it was all I could think about. I couldn't work until I got up and got another one and ate that. And I think my record was 5 rather large donuts. I think I had 3 in the morning, then had lunch, and then had 2 more in the afternoon. Oh my goodness, my stomach hurt and I was ashamed. But I couldn't help myself. And perhaps
Mhm.
you can relate. I think sugar has been proven by scientists now to
Yes.
be extremely addictive,
Yes.
as addictive as morphine and other
Yes.
drugs.
Yes.
Really, I learned that I was just like the alcoholic. I
Oh,
once
wow.
started, I just couldn't stop. It was definitely a physical addiction, but it also has a mental and spiritual component to it because um, knowing that I was addicted to sugar, why would I even take the first bite? And it's because of the mental obsession. Um, and it was really any reason, um, anger, depression, sadness, happiness, joyfulness,
Mhm.
boredom.
Yes.
There just didn't seem to be a reason for it other than it was always on my mind. And my weight just kept going up and up. I think I went on my last diet when I was 32 years old. And I had just had a child a couple of years prior, and I got down to almost my goal weight. And I was attending Weight Watchers, and
Mm.
I was almost there. I was within 3 pounds, and I asked the leader, "Can I just change my goal weight because I can't lose these extra 3 pounds. And she said, well, I guess we can change your goal weight, but I don't feel like you have control over your eating. And she was absolutely right. So I made it to my goal weight. I think I maintained it for a couple of weeks, and then it went back up on the rise, and it didn't stop, and it kept going up and up. And my dad died, and it went up again, and just, life happens, and it kept going up. And I got a new doctor, and she was wonderful. And she said to me, Julie, you really need to lose weight. Your blood sugar is starting to creep up. I was starting to have health problems. I had been in the ER once for heart palpitations, and like my blood pressure was through the roof when I got to the ER. And then by the time the doctor got to me, it was back to normal. And they said, oh, you're fine, go home. And I just knew, I mean, I couldn't even walk hardly. I went to the zoo and with my kids, and I had to sit every now and then because I couldn't walk. And it was awful. I couldn't laugh or sneeze without worry about wetting myself.
Uh-huh.
And it was awful. And I knew I had to do something, and I was getting desperate. And I told my doctor when she said you need to lose weight, I said, I know you're right, and I can lose weight, but I can't keep it off because I can't stop eating. And that wasn't actually true because I couldn't even take it off anymore. My diets usually looked like 5 days of dieting, 2 days of binging.
Oh.
Then after a while, it would be 4 days of dieting, 3 days of binging, then 2 days of dieting, and then 5 days of binging. And then it's like, oh, I can't do this. I give up. And then all bets were off. And so she told me that there was a program called Overeaters Anonymous. And she said it's helped some of my patients. Maybe it will help you. So I promptly, 6 months later, not so promptly, got up enough courage to go. And I wasn't ready. I wasn't desperate enough. I looked at the people, and I had criticism for everyone and everything they were doing. And I just obviously wasn't ready. And thankfully somebody called me and from the meeting and said, you can try a different meeting if this one isn't right for you. And so I did. It took me a year to go back, and I had gained another 10 or 15 pounds. And I was up to 220 pounds, and I'm just slightly over 5'3". So definitely I cannot support a weight of 220 pounds. And so I finally went, and my first meeting, I had criticism for everyone, but they talked to me afterwards. And the skinny one that I thought didn't even belong there, what was she doing there? Well, she was maintaining a 40-pound weight loss. That's what she was doing there. And the other people said, yeah, we still have weight to lose, but we've lost and we continue to lose, and we're feeling really good about ourselves. And we think that you can recover. And so I stayed. I wasn't sure still that I was addicted to food. I wasn't totally convinced that I needed to be completely abstinent. It wasn't until 2 years later at a retreat that I went to that somebody read Bill W.'s story and did a speech on it, and how he went into a bar and he was only going to have food and maybe a soft drink. but he was not going to drink any alcohol. He had sworn off alcohol many times, but this time he was going to stick to it. And then, somebody says free beer or a different flavor of beer. And, oh, well, I've never tried this kind before. And so takes his first sip, and next thing he knows, he's drunk. And I thought, oh my gosh, that is me. It's me with food, not alcohol. I've actually
Right.
think I've ever been drunk, but it is definitely me with food. And that is when I became convinced that I was a sugar addict. And not just sugar, it affects, high fat foods
Mhm.
also are highly addictive.
Right.
And carbs can be, because carbs turn to sugar in your bloodstream. And so I had already lost quite a bit of weight, but now I was finally able to say, you know what, I can give up these foods. I don't need them. You can live without sugar. Um, Everybody has to eat, but you don't have to eat sugar and high fat foods. You don't need it. I don't need cake on my birthday. Um, and
Also,
That's a good point. That's a really good point. We don't need cake on our birthday.
right,
Other choices.
yeah.
Yeah.
there
Wow.
are other choices. I make
Yes.
a really tasty low sugar apple crisp. It's
Oh,
actually
nice.
not really apple crisp, but I've got a little bit of oatmeal and with cinnamon and uh,
Good.
granola, low sugar granola. Most granola has a lot of sugar in it, so you got to read labels.
Hmm.
And then it's and then add some cut up apples into it, or if you like blueberries or something, that works. Um, and that is a very tasty treat, low sugar, and and I don't need sugar. I haven't had a bite of my favorite sugary foods, brownies and cookies, and ice cream.
Guilty.
And,
Yeah.
I haven't had even a bite since April of 2008.
That is
And
so incredible.
thank you. And it is, and it's a
Really.
gift from God. And that is all I can say. It is definitely a gift from God. And it's,
Hmm.
given to me every morning when I wake up and I decide I'm going to be abstinent today.
That's
And I
awesome.
take it one day at a time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
I've been following the 12 steps are so important in recovery, um, because it helps you with the mental obsession. The reasons that you eat, a lot of times you don't even know the reasons you eat. You just
You just eat.
and things bother us. They bother me, and so the steps. They help you to learn to trust, and in Overeaters Anonymous it's a higher power, but for
Right.
me it is our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And
Amen.
that was what was missing for me in Overeaters Anonymous, which is the whole reason I wanted to start Reshape and Recover, was to have a Christ-centered option. And I took the 12 steps that I had learned from Overeaters Anonymous and rewrote them with Jesus in mind. And then I went back to AA, who Overeaters Anonymous actually adapted from AA, and I got permission to use their 12 steps as adapted, as long as I say that I'm not affiliated with them in any way.
Right. There you go. That's good.
Well, Julie, if
Wow.
they join your membership, what does that mean for people if they recognize that they are one of you, an overeater or closet eater or whatever we call ourselves anymore?
I use those 12 steps. I have a book that I've written. It's currently almost done with the editing process, but I do have it ready on my website, and it will guide you through the 12 steps. And I also am creating a community. And this is it's such an isolating disease. So many times people eat in secret and then they feel shame. And it's not even necessarily about the weight, because I have found that people suffer from overeating who aren't even overweight. And a lot of times, I mean, for a lot of my years until I hit about 35 or so, I really wasn't overweight much, maybe a little, but most people would have looked at me and said, "Oh, you're not overweight. What are you concerned about? You know, here, have
Right.
a cookie." And it's it's not it can sometimes be masked or somewhat controlled by yo-yo dieting, over exercising, and but the shame and the guilt and the stomach aches and the digestive problems and the health problems are still there. And I really wreaked havoc on my digestive system, and I'm still suffering the consequences of that,
Mm.
even though now I'm eating clean. But if I hadn't stopped, I probably would be dead, I'm guessing, because my weight was just out of control, and my stomach is a lot better than it used to be, but I still have issues.
Right.
Um,
So
so
how
we've got
does
the community to
oh,
help, for support. Yeah, sorry,
okay.
I got off on a little tangent there.
Okay.
um, and that is really huge. We support each other. There's tips that I blog every day on my website for free, but of course that doesn't give you the membership option. Um, and we have meetings, weekly meetings, and we can help you with your questions. And also, I have a secret weapon, my husband, Tony.
That's so cool. I was
He
reading
is,
about that. Go ahead.
yeah,
Yeah, tell us.
he is, he's been a counselor for over 25 years and a drug and
Oh,
alcohol counselor. He's very familiar with the 12 steps, and he is helping and coaching.
great.
And so I'm hoping, this is not just a women's disease. And I'm hoping
Right.
that we'll draw in men also. And I
Mhm.
say disease because that's kind of how Overeaters puts it. That's kind of a medical term, maybe it's more of a disorder, but whatever you want to call it, it's definitely an obsession. And uh, and also Tony is very strong, a very strong Christian, and knows his Bible very well, and is a strong spiritual leader. And so I'm so blessed to have his help on this also.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's great. I love
So,
that.
most of us aren't gonna, like you, we're not gonna admit that we're an overeater. So what's something that would draw people to finally, I don't know, maybe I'm wording this incorrectly. How are you gonna get them to join you and not feel ashamed, or, what's the first thing that you would do for them when they joined your community or your membership?
Well, we have a confidentiality policy.
Okay.
And if you become a member, you have to sign an agreement that everything is confidential. And because a lot of it is shame, and I know it took me a long time to be able to admit to people that I was a member of Overeaters Anonymous. And I get that. And this is an extremely confidential um, community. And there's also some tips and some tricks that I've got. And um, I have some recipes. I'm really not much of a cook, and because of my diet, because of my digestive issues, I have to be gluten-free, dairy-free, and not everybody needs that. Um,
Right.
so,
right.
I
Joins
had
your
some
membership.
recipes, but I'm hoping people will submit their recipes and share their
Right.
recipes with others. And
Yes.
it's
And
a
I'm
community.
glad that you brought that up. That was something that I did notice. And I thought that is wonderful that we can reach out to you. And I'm going to put your um, email address, if that's okay, the info at reshapeandrecover.com. And
Absolutely. Thank
I
you.
love that. You'll consider it. That's right. You're going to look it over, make sure that it is a healthy recipe and, and use it to the
Right.
benefit of others. I think that's great.
So
Right.
it sounds like the first thing that we have to work on is our mindset. So when they contact you, it sounds like you'll reach them in where they are, whether it's their mind or over exercising or overeating, or well, they're all overeating if they're contacting you, but okay, so to get their mindset, you'll help them with their mindset and then go from there with
Yes.
the recipes.
Right.
Yeah.
And guiding them through the 12 steps
Oh,
with my book. There's
Mhm.
there's uh worksheets to also exercises to do, and I don't mean physical exercises. I'm not a dietitian, so I highly recommend that people either work with their doctor or a dietitian. But I can give them, guidance, but I'm not a dietitian. But I also recommend some sort of a exercise program. It doesn't have to be anything strenuous. I know for me, when I was very heavy, I really couldn't do a lot because it hurt. My knees hurt, my legs hurt, my shins hurt if I
Mhm.
walked. My feet hurt. And so I started small, and I really didn't do a lot until I had lost some weight first. And then I started to increase the exercising a little bit. And even now, I don't do a ton. I like doing stretches, yoga stretches, and swimming. I live in Phoenix in a retirement community, and we've got
Nice.
access to
what?
walking pools. I love those. But
Well, Karen's going to start she has a YouTube channel for yoga. So she's starting that. And of course, you can do Pajama Granny
2 minutes. That's all
for
it takes.
absolutely, yes, absolutely.
and build
And
up as you're losing.
Yeah.
Yep. So we're all here for each other.
right.
And um, yeah, that's great. Communities are where we need to be.
And I certainly do not have a perfect body. I'm coming up on 60 years old, and I still have remembrances of being overweight.
Uh-huh.
And
Those are your battlings. I
I'm
call
not going to be your buff person who's, saying, come join my program.
Mhm.
It's just, I'm just a normal person who, if I take one bite of my binge foods, I know I will be right back where I was. And so I need this program as much as anyone else.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so I just want to be there to support you. And honestly, I'm going to be blessed because I know that I'll be blessed by everyone who joins.
That's
right.
right. We can never outgive God. And when we bless others, he just has ways of blessing us even more, and I'm not talking monetarily, it's just anything. It's the coolest
Keep,
thing when we
yeah.
reach out and we just encourage one another.
Mhm.
So you've got a
Well,
really excellent thing going. Um, this book that you have done, it is like an online, I know your membership is online, but is the book something that we'll be able to hold in our hands or
Yes,
okay, that's
you
cool.
can print it out right
Okay,
now, and then there's exercises at the back of
okay.
each chapter for you to complete. Um, there's also an inventory, which can be difficult for people. Step 4 asks us to do an inventory of our life and to
Yeah.
see the patterns so that we can overcome past behaviors, understand why we've done certain things. And we always have a reason, a good reason for why we've done things.
Definitely.
But
Yeah.
how can we move forward in a different, with a different mindset?
Mhm.
Yeah. And, I never expect someone to join my program and become abstinent right away, because it's a process, and
Yeah.
Right.
we just need to help each other through it, and try again. And some people say, oh, I couldn't live without my binge foods. It's like, well, how about for 2 weeks? Can you live
Right.
without them for 2
How
weeks?
about just a day?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Many goals, little mini baby steps, I guess.
Mhm.
or a
And
meal.
once you've got 2 weeks under your belt, how about another 2 weeks?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
as you work the steps, Alcoholics Anonymous promises that halfway through step 9, you're free from the obsession.
Wow. All
So,
right. Well, I have to cut us off now,
okay.
but
Okay.
thank you,
To do this
Julie,
again.
for being here.
Thank you for
And
having me.
Thanks
yes,
so much, Julie.
I don't
Really
want to,
good.
you can let's stop the recording, please.